But first, in just over 4 weeks, Russian voters will go to the polls to elect a president. There is no suspense about the outcome. It's a pretty safe bet that Vladimir Putin will be re-elected to a 4th term, extending his rule into a 3rd decade. As Nick Schifrin reports, Putin has a high-profile challenger from his own past who is trying to convert celebrity into votes.
36-year-old Ksenia Sobchak is one of Russia's most famous women. And now she's exchanging her mission to grab wealth and fame to mission impossible: unseat Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Why are you qualified to be the president of Russia?
Because I have no fear in myself. I'm courageous. In Russia, which is an authoritarian country, where someone who is against Putin can be put to prison, can be killed, can be suppressed in different ways, the real thing you need now is courageousness. It's just to show that you're not afraid.
Sobchak grew up not having to be afraid of anything. She inhabited the privileged post-Soviet elite. She became a reality TV star, a millionaire entrepreneur with a commercial empire, a socialite with 5.5 million Instagram followers. She traveled widely and lived well and voted for Putin. But in 2011, she switched sides. She joined massive protests to criticize Putin for being corrupt and authoritarian. And she became a journalist on Russia's only opposition TV channel. For her efforts, she was hounded by police. That's her being detained in 2012. Today, on the campaign trail, she argues Putin had the chance to enrich the country and instead enriched himself.
We had so much oil money, but they were all disappeared. No roads, no new hospitals, but moreover, no new industries. We don't have a single thing we can be proud of. Only palaces for the people who are connected to our president. Only villas that are so chic on Côte d'Azur or somewhere else connected with our government and president.
With all due respect, you have definitely been part of the privileged class. So why would someone in Russia think, you can change that?
Yes, I had some privilege to get a good education and to be brought up in this political family. But I didn't have any other privileges. No one can say that she has her money from corruption, because I'm not into this.
Vladimirovich Putin.
Sobchak's criticisms of Putin are not only domestic, she also attacks the core of his popularity, his muscular foreign policy. Invading and then annexing Crimea. Supporting separatists who destabilized eastern Ukraine. Sending the Russian Air Force to Syria and supporting Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
I don't support Crimea annexation, and I'm saying this out loud. And I don't support our operation on Syria. And I think the Crimea was a huge mistake, which we will live on with all our generation, and we will cope with it for years now.
For years, she's known Putin. Sobchak's father, Anatoly, was the mayor of St. Petersburg and Putin's political patron. At Anatoly's funeral, Putin embraced Ksenia's mother. That relationship has led many to call Ksenia Sobchak a Kremlin stooge, helping legitimize a preordained coronation. Alina Polikova is a Brookings Fellow.
The outcome of the Russian quote-unquote elections is absolutely not in dispute. And I think they're hoping that having a young, female, dynamic, kind of socialite in the election will get people to come to the polls, especially young people, which will, in the end of the day, legitimize Putin once again.
That's what Alexei Navalny argues. He's the country's leading opposition figure who's been banned from running for president on what he calls trumped-up criminal charges. Back in 2012, Navalny embraced Sobchak after they were both released from jail. But today, he criticizes Sobchak for ignoring his election boycott and participating in what he calls a charade. Sobchak returns the favor.
I see a big double standard, because Alexei Navalny wanted to take part in those elections too, as you remember, and he made a really good campaign to take part in the elections. But tell me then, if he would be registered, wouldn't he legitimate Putin?
For the Russian establishment, Sobchak is no threat. Her liberal ideas aren't popular. She's polling at 1.5%. She admits she has no chance and accuses Putin of stacking the deck.
It's a casino where one person always wins and other lose.
So why even take part in a process that, as you said yourself, will end up in Putin's election?
The goal is to get the microphone. The goal is to be heard by millions of people who never watched internet, who do not know who is Alexei Navalny, and who know me only because I'm very, big media figure in Russia. So I want to use my popularity to convince those people that changes are needed.
She is giving voice to those people, but again, that voice is only temporary. The elections are not real, and so in many ways, she falls potentially into this trap of being used by the regime to legitimize itself.
That skepticism followed her to Washington. She spent all last week holding events and giving interviews, advocating against the same sanctions the Kremlin complains about.
Are you echoing the Kremlin's line while you're here in Washington?
I'm echoing my own line as a candidate on presidency.
For Sobchak, that line has always been thin. She's elite but oppositional, widely recognized but unpopular. She could bolster the opposition or help split it. And she will lose, but by running, she wins a seat in the real game, the next presidential election in 6 years. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin in Washington.